the monitor. Looks like that we are live, and I am going widescreen with the teleprompter. Perfect. Okay, so this is going to be a test. I just got a brand new teleprompter, and I have a Feel World T7 monitor. Basically, I've gone to StreamYard. I've fed um, my PC video via HDMI into the Feel World monitor, and then I'm using the output of that to my regular desktop monitor for settings and everything like that. But for monitoring right now, I'm using the smaller monitor. I tried to use a traditional PC monitor, but for whatever reason, when I got it, it just didn't work. It was a faulty external portable monitor. I think maybe I might try that again someday with the portable monitor, but for now, we're going to use a camera monitor, and and the only thing that I'm seeing right now is a slight glare, and that's probably something we can fix. It might be the fact that the light is bouncing off my eye, and so I'm looking uh looking a little bit, pale maybe. I don't know. This is um a fun experiment, I guess. The monitor is a little bit too small given that it's a 8-inch monitor for reading chat and what have you. So I might have to figure out a way that I can monitor chat on another device or another screen or something off to the side in order to do that. But this is a part of content creation. So I'm kind of talking through my own content creation experience and what it has taken to get technology to work for me. And so last night I went to Austin Podcasters Meetup. It was put on by Scott Carson. He's a podcaster local to the Austin scene, been doing it for quite some time. And it was a really fun event. It was at this brewery slash distillery, a bunch of different things in the South Austin area. And I met a bunch of different podcasters, and we talked about content, and we talked about their niche. We talked about tools. I was given a workbook with 35 different content creation tools. Possibly I'll make a video on that and give them a shout out, going over those 35 tools. And in fact, I was introduced to a startup, and they also create a podcast. The startup is called Cap Show, and I'll give them a little bit of a shout out here. They're kind of a transcription AI, but they also do content tools. So they help to publish content on social media, get bite-sized pieces out for distribution of your podcast or live stream or pretty much anything that you can give them an audio file for. I think that for my case, the audio is great because I'll give them a recording of the audio that I do here. They'll transcribe it. Then they give you like show notes and a potential title for your podcast, a wide variety of different things that they'll help you out with. And I'm really looking forward to working with them. It's good to have another tool in the network for me to promote and send people that way that are content creators that want to learn about the cutting edge tools that are helping them be more efficient, helping them make more powerful content, and everything associated with that. So that kind of segues into the event that I'll be going to in Vegas, which is Affiliate Summit West. And I hope to meet more people like Cap Show at that event. We'll see. I don't know necessarily what type of brands are going to be at the event, but it should be a great opportunity to network, get to experience a lot of different stuff. It was interesting that I'll have to reach out to Scott again. He had mentioned that one of his colleagues is going to be speaking at the event. And this is something actually maybe I haven't talked about that much. Um, for a younger audience, or even maybe an older audience that's just getting into content creation and learning about the fact that there are conferences dedicated to creators. A lot of people who are in the workforce are familiar with expos, conferences, conventions, and they attend them for their industries that they work in, but they don't necessarily think about the other industries out there that are creating conferences themselves. So if you really want to learn anything and find people that are like-minded, going to these conferences is one of the best ways to get your name out there. Of course, in the digital age, I think I've mentioned this before, that going online on Twitter Spaces or Clubhouse, or joining a Facebook group is a great way to get your name out there as well in a digital sense. Though, if you wanna take that to the next level, I highly recommend going to a niche conference that speaks to you. And one of the things that I really enjoy, and I think that you might too, is listening to industry veterans, new people in the industry that are doing innovative things, and pretty much anybody who's motivated to speak about their niche on a panel. I've done panels before. I've done fireside chats. I've done, um, what's it called? Like just a press conference. I've done a few different things in that regard, and I want to like encourage a lot of people who attend conferences to not just go to the expo or to the content creator hub, or the like special concerts or things like that, but go to the panels and listen to industry experts and noobs, or new people, used a gaming term there, new people in the industry that are actively pursuing your niche, and get that experience, because it's really valuable to have a second opinion, a different perspective, just that thing that might unlock a door for an opportunity that you didn't see necessarily at first. So you learn through other people's lived experience what cool things or new things, what is going to push your career forward. And that's going to be really exciting, right? So I'll be going to this conference, and Scott mentioned someone that he knows, a colleague of his, is speaking. And so that actually is of a lot of benefit, because when you have your network, and let's say someone is not going to the event, but they're interested in the information, you become a valuable resource to them, because you can, basically give them a insider's perspective, because they don't have they're not fortunate enough, or they're not able to, or for whatever reason they're not able to attend. You can give them, basically a synopsis or a summary of the things that happened, and it's going to go a long way, because you might say like, "Oh, they live streamed this. Did you know they live streamed it?" And they might never even known that they live streamed it, because for whatever reason they did the live stream on uh, a creator's platform versus the brand platform, and then you kinda, because you got that link and you got the information, information is super valuable. You share that with your network, and then, um, they learn something, they get some form of entertainment out of it, everyone's value is different, but it does go a long way, uh, when people when you are being considerate of others and, basically putting them in the know, you know? Um, and you could say it's like them being a part of an inside secret in a way. I mean, sometimes, some cases, like, you know, there's situations where that content may be a premium content that you have to like subscribe for or pay for that you don't want to like necessarily pirate it to other people. But, you know, as long as it's like an open source, there's not a lot of uh they haven't said not to share it, so go ahead and let other people know about the gems that people are dropping on those public platforms. Just like shoot them a YouTube link or wherever the wherever the content exists. Just you know share it with your network for those who weren't able to attend. And that goes for a lot of different things. And in the discussion at the podcasters meetup, we talked about collaboration through podcast guests. We talked about the tools that go into podcasting. We talked about viewership and audience, and we talked about discovering your niche. There are a lot of things that were really uh I always use the word valuable, but um I would want to use the word motivating, of course, to get out there and do more and have fun. That's a big one. Don't forget why you got into creating content in the first place. Everybody knows that there's a business component to content creation, there's a financial opportunity, there's, you know, lifestyle uh changes. There's all these things. But having fun is one of the most important things to remember. You don't want content creation to turn into uh, a chore. You you just do what makes you feel good and makes you want to continue doing content creation. And, that's really challenging, I think. It's something that, especially for this day and age, with everything being so short form and bite size and quick, that as a content creator, long format content, you probably produce 3 pieces of long format content a week. Those of you who are long format content full timers, you might make 5 pieces of full time long format content in a week, and then you take off the weekends or whatnot. But I mean, if you're creating 5 pieces of long format content, you should be creating hundreds of clips from that content, especially if you're doing 3 to 4 hours of content a day, especially if you're a live streamer. If you're a live streamer and you're on Twitch or you're on YouTube or kick.com, TikTok, it doesn't really matter, I guess. Whatever platform you live stream to, your audience is one of those great resources for clips. I know there's clip functionality on YouTube and Twitch, and I know kick.com is going to get theirs. But both of those platforms, those clips can go a long way, especially if there's a virality to them. If if one of your your viewers creates a clip and it goes viral uh in the audience for those who watch clips, which is something that is very interesting to me. Very okay. So for those of you who don't know what clips are on Twitch, Twitch clips are basically the same thing as like Xbox snapshots, but they're user generated by your viewers. So when a viewer finds something interesting in your broadcast, they can click a button that takes like it it varies from like I think up to a minute worth of content. Maybe it's longer than that actually. Surprisingly, I don't know the number, but I'll go back and review and make sure I know that for the next podcast. But it takes this bite-sized clip and then it pushes it out to the platform for other viewers to see and be entertained or find popular or enjoy as well. And then you can download the clip and then you could post that on social media because it was a highlight that people liked. Doesn't necessarily it's going to be it doesn't mean necessarily that it's going to be popular on other platforms. Twitch clips are generally popular on Reddit for whatever reason. That's where they really prosper. And because there's a few different communities like live stream fails, um I'm trying to think of anything else. Yeah, I mean that's pretty much the main one. Live stream fails. So usually it's not necessarily a clip that you find to be a highlight of your content, but sometimes it is. Sometimes it's like the best gameplay clip, and then here's a if you're a gaming streamer, you just post that clip, and it'll go viral on TikTok or it'll go viral on Instagram or some other platform, equally so as Twitch clips. And YouTube has another feature that's very similar to it, but it doesn't have like a public functionality to that level. So it's not quite as robust. It's more of a sharing functionality or like saving for an individual's um, for an individual viewer's liking, right? So they can go back and see their favorite moments of a particular broadcast or a particular post production video, like like a music video or like I don't know if all music videos have YouTube clips on it or not, but I'm sure it'll get to that level at some point. So anyway, these clips, like they can be multi-purposed on other platforms. Um, and so if you're a long format content creator that's doing live streams, you should be taking those most popular clips and distributing them like they're wildfire all over social media, letting people know the type of content that you create, right? Some of it's going to be needing to be edited or like spliced up, but you can download those pretty simply from the internet from a number of different websites that let you download the clips directly to your iPhone or your Android phone and then just post it on TikTok. It's easy. It's not very hard, right? But especially for like I said, long format live streamer content creators, podcasters now. I'm speaking to the podcasters. Similar, it's really tough for podcasters out there who are creating content to do the same numbers as live streamers because a lot of podcasters their shows are based off of kind of a staged or scripted environment where there's a studio involved and podcasters also do live streaming but the type of people who do podcasting and do live streaming are often kind of different archetypes They're different personality types of people. I would say I'm kind of, you know, a streamer first and then a podcaster second. And so like I kind of started my content creation in the live streaming space, although like arguably like my education is more around post production cinematic storytelling. The actual application of my content creation has been in live streaming because I started streaming on Ustream in 2012 and then stopped streaming on Ustream due to a number of different reasons. But then I got on Twitch in 2015. So like a 3-year time gap between when I went from Ustream to Twitch. But then when I came back, it wasn't like when I was on Ustream, I was doing the same sort of stuff that I'm doing now with like social commentary and um like a personal branded show. So similar. A different older version of me. Content doesn't exist. I wish it did still, but it doesn't exist out there. Maybe Ustream has like some server somewhere that I could like pull that stuff back in. That would be really cool. Ustream people if they have access to something like that. So I could just reflect on, my past and everything that I created back in 2012. Um, and then like nowadays, how different that is. But anyway, 2015, I'm in a youth music studio and I'm helping the kids out and I'm learning live streaming again and I'm learning the new platforms and what works here and what works there. I think I was streaming to YouTube and Twitch at the same time and putting out, DJ sets and messing around. I'd never DJ'd before, so I was experiencing something new, doing an SS was it S what is it? What is the DJ controller called? SSB, is that right? SSDJ or what? I haven't DJ'd in a long time or anything like that. I haven't touched a controller or anything like that. I work with DJs, but DJing hasn't been something I've been really focused on. Um, so anyway, the Pioneer, the little CGJ, not even a CGJ, just a regular digital controller. And I'm scratching these musics and doing mixes and whatnot. And then I broadcast that out. I had to learn all these different tools in order to to get the music out there, and I was also doing it to like SoundCloud and Hear This. So there was like a pirate radio kind of thing going on there, and it was a lot of fun. And then that kind of transitioned into Austin Live and Local, which was like the next niche. Like I was doing that. That was more like that was like on the surface level, very content creation. Like I had no idea of the direction or what I was doing. I was just creating content. Like there's a beauty to that. A lot of content creators just freestyling, just out there, like just creating the content because it feels good. Making the things that they enjoy doing, the entertainment, the fun of it, just because it's fun. And then you get into it and people tell you you should do this and you should do that and you do this, blah, blah, blah. They start telling you what you should do instead of what you're doing when you're having fun. Right? And so, like, that's when it can kinda get hairy and it starts to get kind of frustrating, the content creation component. And I never really experienced that particularly because 'cause I've still always stayed doing content creation, having a little fun here, having bad experiences over there, doing creating content, ups and downs, trying to do something different. I've been in situations where I'm working on making a short film, and then because of life circumstances, it doesn't work out, so then you're kinda not creating the content that you really wanna create, but, there's a lot of different opportunities along the way to just you gotta kinda take what you can take it take what you get or get in when you fit where you fit in, like, just make it happen, right? So, I went from, like I said, Austin Live and Local was the next evolution of the content I was creating on Ustream, on Twitch, and started learning Facebook more. So I'm learning Facebook as a content creator. I'm playing around with groups. I'm doing this and I'm doing that. That's kind of how I got involved with the Austin podcast meetup, was learning the groups and like how you can join a community and they do events over here and how to do this and that. And instead of just sitting at home and being a solo person and you know not knowing anybody or playing any of the games, you know that's vastly different than the way that my life actions were when I was a kid. Like, certain things were popularized, so you do those things. You don't and because you do those things, life is a little easier. Some people don't do that, and they do the things that are less popular, or they see those things as not so cool, and or they don't think them as whatever. They don't like the things like being on the sports team or being in the band or uh, joining theater club, those key club, whatever. They don't find those things to be enjoyable, right? So they do other alternative things, and you learn alternative things are what sets you apart from the norm, but you have to learn, right? You have to learn those things, and maybe there's a life situation, a certain lifestyle that people gravitate toward alternative things more than others, than the mainstream, right? And I don't necessarily know what that is, but I've always kind of been off mainstream, kind of like off white, Virgil Abloh, but like off mainstream, like, off white. I mean, it's mainstream, but it's not mainstream, right? So like, there's a premium to it, right? There's a little bit of pizzazz, a little bit of je ne sais quoi, right? And hey, so anyway, I started Austin Live and Local to find that, at least in the Austin area. I was exploring artist brands and events through digital platforms, and then also exploring the established like offline communities that existed through venues, through print media. Um, I'm trying to think of all the different things like traditional media, television, radio. Like I really explored it all at some point, but it always changes. It's always ever evolving. So like radio stations and the RTF program at the University of Texas, like it's interesting just like thinking back to who got involved, who didn't get involved when I was on my journey to kind of learn these different things. And there was always, I don't know how to explain it. And I know last night I also went to a club and I experienced it again. It's like there are people who are just not interested in you, right? They're just, for whatever reason, they look at you and they think they don't need you. They just, by the way that you look or the way that other people are telling them that they should perceive you, that's sort of the mainstream ideologies are like what people tell you you should like and you shouldn't like, right? The whole herd mentality, you know, of not everyone wants to go through the rigmarole of learning like whether something is acceptable or not. Like some things are just like I just don't even want to deal with. Tell me what I should and shouldn't care about when it comes to that topic. Don't I don't even wanna really even have an opinion on the topic. It's just like, tell me what I should think, and I'll just think that, and that's what I'll do, and that's the simple life. In a lot of ways, it's just, like, super simple just to have an authority figure tell you what you should think and believe and go about that, but, I mean, there are a lot of historical reasons why that shouldn't be the way that people think, but they continue to think that way. The mainstream continues to think that way. Um, Even though countless evidence of times in which the mainstream has deviated from that, and then you have this division of the mainstream to where certain people who think right and wrong go a different direction, right? So anyway, so you have people that just don't want to help you. They look at you and they have a perception of you. Sometimes you can convert those people by talking to them and educating them on who you are versus who they were told that you are, and that takes a lot of work, to be honest. And in certain circumstances, you don't want to do that because the consequences of you forcefully putting yourself onto someone could lead to negative perceptions that's the group mentality then places on you, right? So there are circumstances where you can approach a situation because it's common to approach in that manner and basically give give the impression that you're not being pushy because it's a normalized approach. So that normalized approach is like, this is how this is how you approach you this is how you that they're sort of in a performative, you know, uh position because it's familiar that they're when you're in this position that you're performative, and then it's familiar that there's an audience and that the audience might have a an engagement factor to it, especially like I'm thinking of stand-up comedy right now. There's a there's crowd work that comedians do that is both a two-way street. Like the comedian asks a question, the audience member asks a question, and it goes kind of back and forth Q&A style. There's hecklers who, you know, shout and criticize and yell at stand-up comedians, and then the stand-up comedian basically flames them or roasts them for saying something that is maybe obstructive or like interrupting their stand-up. And yeah, it's a challenge, to say the least, to put yourself out there as a content creator. And like I said, not everyone's gonna like you. And some people you can convert, some people you can't. And it's easier when they're, on the spectrum, when they're closer to you in likeness than those that are not content creators, right? So I spoke to some people at the club last night that were not content creators. In fact, they preferred to not create content so as to kind of have a separation between their business interest and their personal interests. Um, and that's really challenging in digital age because digital in nature is by its nature is content creation. Whether you have Google Maps or you have Yelp or whatever, you have a website, you're creating some form of content that you're publishing, whether that be in the form of blogs, newsletters, um, press, whatever it is, like there's copywriting involved, there's and that elevates into photography and graphic design and other ways to express yourself. It doesn't always have to be photos and videos and audio and all the high production value stuff, but it can be, right? And there's some more I don't want to call them low effort, but low output, low frequency. I mean, you're not a video is high frequency. There's a lot of moving parts and a lot to learn. There's a lot of equipment that goes involved in video. There's lights, camera, action, all of that. Audio is very similar. Sound, camera, or sound, mic, action. Um, you know, there's always 3 components. There's always components to doing any form of content creation. Some people just don't wanna participate in that. Even though, I'm talking to them and they have the interest of opening up an all-female gym because they're, like, they're really into fitness, and I'm talking to them, and I'm curious, I mean, but it's like, well, if how are you gonna get the message out if you don't have content? How I mean, like, you okay, so you spend a bunch of money in opening up a brick and mortar, and then you have to hire staff, and that staff has to have a similar, worldview and ideology and belief system that you have in order for the operation to function as the way that you want it to function, especially in this theoretical female bodybuilding gym that's exclusive to women and that it has no that there are no men in the gym. Like, I I don't know how to I have no idea how you even do that legally. That's such a level of discrimination. Uh it's so similar to the racial discrimination that it's like, how can that thought I don't know if people should have that thought, whether they're, cis female or non-binary or anything, I don't know. I just that, uh, identity politics component, I just it always is challenging to deal with that. I mean, as I mature, I learn so much more about, like, how you don't want to discriminate against people. You do wanna sort of distance yourself, but you don't wanna discriminate. You kinda just wanna, be very on an individual level, more like, "I don't care for what you do," um, but you don't want this whole gang mentality to start happening. And so I'm still speaking, I guess, mostly on the fact that people don't might not like you, right? It's like people are just going to not like the content that you create. People don't like the content that I create, and I get negative feedback all the time. And that negative feedback, I try to do my best to fix that constructive criticism. Sometimes I just can't. I can't fix it overnight, right? It takes time and it takes a plan and structure to fix technology, to fix appearances, to fix uh ideas and beliefs that are rooted in generational comprehension that may not be positive. It might come from a negative origin, and you kind of have to fix it along the way. And then it's just like the presentation gets better. And maybe those people over time that had a negative impression of you, and I'm by saying you, I mean the royal you, including me, the they start to like you. You start to get they start taking on a liking of you, I should say. And so that's a process. And then you do things that people are going to bash you for. I mean, just look at how many mainstream content creators are out now that are just getting dragged in the press. Even politicians have always been dragged in the press, but I'm just saying like that what is usually historically been subjective to the politicians and public figures like of that nature, celebrities, all of that is now being im- uh, applied to non-content creators, like just regular people, because everyone that participates in digital media, social media, a website, any form of digital media, is getting judged in this way, like based on their beliefs, their religions, their ideologies, their identity, all these different things, and just like bits and pieces of you are being fragmented and in ways that you just have to kind of like roll with the punches and try your best to resonate with people that are like you, that see eye to eye, you know, eye to eye. I should that's better hand gesture than what I was doing. Um, and that can see the bigger picture, see the vision of the direction that you're going in. And hopefully they like the aesthetic, the appearance to it. And so I start looking off camera, all these different things, because I'm thinking, especially when I think, I tend to look away from the camera, because if I'm looking at myself, you know, I get caught up in appearances and the way that I look, and am I doing is my hair right? Is my beard trimmed? Is my shirt on right? Do I have any stains? All these different things that like can ultimately hold you back, right? Are you smiling even? Like I have a very hard time smiling when I'm thinking, because I'm thinking about things that are challenges. And challenges are not always that happy and joyful. Most of the time, the things that you're trying to overcome are sad, emotional, depressing, not logical, irrational. These are the types of things, because it might be an outside influence, like I've been talking about, that's obstructing your happiness or your success that comes from content creation. Hopefully, that doesn't last forever, and then you get to be well liked in your niche, and they they want to include you. They want to tell you about their shows. They want to include you in the thing that you want to do, right? That's the thing. You want to be likable, right? And liked. You want to be likable and liked. You, you want know, like, and trust. So, I mean, establishing not that someone knows who you are is the first step, right? That's the first thing you need to do in marketing is get people to realize you have a podcast, that you have content that you're creating, and they're just familiar in at the very basic level familiar. Developing that they like you, that's a lot more challenging, right? That's what we're talking about here. We're talking about how can they like you as a content creator, like us? How can they like us? What is it that they find uh unappealing, unattractive that we can adjust to get the message out that we are trying to be inclusive and not exclusive, and that we want people to be living their best life, right? And we want to live our best life, right? We don't want them to be an obstruction to us living our best life because they're looking at us and they're like, they don't realize that behind them is a gang of people that is they because they think they're just an individual making an assumption, but there's a ton of them, lined up that are, like, not interested in what you have to say, and then when you can finally get them to turn around and they start realizing all these people are not, you know, are they looking at you crazy and don't like what you have to say, they start to be on your side. They're like, "Whoa, you know, that they're the things they think are wrong. The things that wait, hold up. The thing that they think about us, people who are on the other side, is ill-informed, misinformed. Uh, they are educated in a way that they don't properly understand the language. Uh, and it's really funny. That's not that has nothing to do with like that has nothing to do with being like a native speaker of a different language. Smart people are smart people. I want to say uneducated, just put it that way. Uneducated people are just uneducated. They're educated, they're just misinformed with information that no one, we're misinformed. You we have to as people, this is when it comes to like everyone is an individual, right? At the end of the day, we have to make an exerted effort to do our own research. And sometimes that research that we do, there's a gang of people just believing something that's just not true about people, right? And that could be um what's the word I'm looking for? That could be what's like a young thing that could be naive. It could be naive or it could be nefarious. Naive or nefarious. It's one or the other. It's either negligent or intentional. It's never a gray area. Like it's never no one is ever naive and nefarious. Like it's hard to be both of those two things. You're either informed and nefarious or naive and negligent. That's how that correlates. I strongly, strongly encourage any of you out there listening to this to challenge that with evidence of an ability to be naive and nefarious at the same time, like intentionally. Like with you can't be naive. It's just not possible. Like I know someone's gonna say that because I know people argue to argue. I talk to people all the time that argue to argue, don't have any sustainable evidence or case study or anything. They just argue to argue, and they just say things just to say things. Like, they don't go to, they're not even Wikipedia warriors. They're like headline warriors. Like, they are like soundbite warriors. They heard something and they're like, but they misheard it, and then it's sometimes I've been I have been a victim to doing this. You know, when you m when something that is told to you, you mishear it, which means you misunderstood it, which means you're misinformed, and so then you're just, like, constantly battling to get back to, uh get back to not being an idiot, basically, and you know, you had to laugh at yourself because it's so funny that we're constantly in these situations of individuals where it's like, it's the telephone game, and I it's you're 3 people removed from any information these days, so, like, the root source of it all, and plus, you know, information is coming out via a bajillion content creators, and they're all saying it in slightly different ways, and you just have to figure out what frequency and tune is most receptive to you, right? For me, podcast is a big one of those. I would say live streams. You know, I talk about it all the time. So as a consumer, a content consumer, like I'm not a big newspaper reader or blog reader. I will listen to the audio versions of those things. But as far as like reading something on a piece of paper or on Twitter or a twit longer or something like that, like hard pressed to find me doing that. I'll read books, listen to audiobooks, etc., but I mean, that's like few and far between. Situations few and far between, I would say. But anyway, I just kind of want to segue away from that because yeah, it's one of the things that you like we talked about at the meetup a lot about finding your audience, and it's just like challenging. It's real challenging, and it does help to be in a community of other content creators that are not like-minded and everything like that. So like put yourself out there, go to events, network. I know it's going to be a struggle because people will always be people, and um be yourself. At the end of the day, you are your niche. Something that this is like a trending topic going around, but be yourself. Don't be afraid to create the content that you want to create. Don't be afraid not to create content. I'm also going to advise that, you know, don't get fear of missing out because you're not doing it. You have good reasons why you're not creating content. So don't waver, or make the plan to when you decide you're going to put yourself out there, you know? I mean, there's no better time than the present. I'll make that advice, but I mean, I'm also not going to say you have to do anything. You can do whatever you want in life so long as it doesn't hurt others to a great degree. So I'm only talking from lived experience, obviously. So like a big reason why I went out last night was because of what I did with Austin Live and Local, right? And that Austin Live and Local transitioned into me talking about the things that I'm talking about now, my life, and what I do as a content creator with Trent Knox Productions and the show. But I mean, as you guys are familiar, I do a lot of different things as far as branding goes. I mean, I created Austin Live and Local, then I started Cyber City Media, and then I started Esports Business Network. And I mean, a lot of you who are listening are familiar with what I've done with Esports Business Network as far as interviewing content creators in the esports and gaming space, on the professional level, behind the scenes, in front of the camera, everything. And I've done event coverage with it as well. Um, and I wanna continue doing that. I do. There are conferences that I like to attend. Esports and gaming, as far as a fan's perspective, extremely expensive. The cost of hotel they always put the events in the most expensive time, on the weekend, in the most expensive locations. Like, gaming and esports is so wildly expensive, and what they tend to do, these event promoters and event organizers, is market toward a local audience that doesn't know an event is taking place. Especially big events, like, they're banking more on people to travel to the event than they are getting the local community to show up. I've seen it countless time, year after year, esports tournament operators such as DreamHack, BlizzCon, Overwatch League, all these different things. Well, of course, like, Blizzard does it differently because they usually hold the event in the same location every year, so everybody knows that it's going to be the cost to go to San Diego, to attend the event, or Anaheim area, that area, whatever. Um, and that is what it is, right? That's that's Blizzard for you. They're gonna ask for you to go watch Call of Duty all around the nation, you know, and it's wild what people are saying in the industry as far as um the comparison of traditional sports consumers to esports consumers, like, that they're just like, esports fans aren't gonna go to events, they're not gonna buy a beer, they're not gonna get popcorn, drink, everything, they're just gonna go on the on the cheap end of it all, and it's if that's the case, you know, like, there has to be a way for them to discover how to make the ends meet, right? And stop trying to market to the people that are in the 1% of people. Like, they can fly to the event and afford to purchase merchandise and everything that is being sold at these venues. Like, they got to figure out how to do it on a local level. Like, they got to really figure out how the grassroots shows up, right? And grassroots, what I mean is like local gamers in the area. They really fail to do this. And they fail to do it because they don't buy radio, they don't buy social media, not the right way. I don't know how this happens, but they just are so ill-informed on how to market to locals. They're they're always so disconnected. Like, they bring in people from international markets to produce the events, and or it's like vice versa. So, like, when you have, like, kind of a like an in between, like a land fest, they just miss the mark on who they should be inviting as content creators because 'cause they're not doing their research as far as, like, who's popping and where do they stay at. It's really difficult, that's for certain. Like, there's no, like, aggregator for Twitch streamers that's, like, doxing in any way like that. But what if there was a better way to do it? I don't know. I don't know how to do it yet. I'm gonna figure it out for sure, of getting in contact with local content creators in the niche that will go to your event, get their fans to come to the event on a local grassroots level, but still have a high production value because ticket costs and everything, and then the travel and accommodations are just affordable. Just make it affordable. Just currently, esports is way too expensive. Like, for instance, I'm looking at tickets to this event in Las Vegas in the end of February, Level Up Expo. A hotel minimum for the foreign, basically you show up on Thursday and you leave on Monday if you're out of towner, right? Local, different story, but out of towner, minimum like $1,000 just for for Friday, Saturday. That's the problem. Friday, Saturday in Vegas on that weekend, outrageous. Cost is outrageous. Unless you're like balling. I'm talking like minimum in your bank account 250,000. Like that's, because you have all these other expenses and then you're doing this as a entertainment thing, an additional layer of what you have. And I mean, there's sacrifices, right? There's all these reasons. There's, you know, putting yourself into debt, there's things that you can do. Of course you can do that, and that's life, right? Life is like that. But you want to be above water more than you want to be below. You so it's like you don't want to be drowning in debt because you went to all these events, right? And that's the thing, like that's the way that organizers should be looking at this picture because they're like, well, they're thinking like how do ticket costs and food and beverage and merchandise cover up for the cost of putting on the event. Well, the thing is you need to just like think about who your audience is and how are you going to get them to show up because you're not going to get people to fly out for basically a minimum of 1,500 because you're talking about food, transportation, all of that outside the of even getting in the door as far as costs go. So you get in the door, and then let's say you want to participate in like a land component of the event. That's another $250 on top of the ticket for a seat in the land. And then if you want a premium VIP service, bottle service or like whatever the case may be, like food delivered to your seat, like a higher level experience, you're starting to break that $2,500 mark. You're starting to break into that $5,000, $10,000 mark, depending on across these 3 to 4 days or 3 days. I guess usually it's 3 days, 3-day event, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, right? I mean, yeah, entry at the door, a ticket for 3 days is $75, right? And that's a little bit on the pricier side. The events like a DreamHack and whatnot are usually like in the $35 to $75 range. It's definitely below 75. That's a high ticket. But yeah, and I mean, everyone's right. Like, I mean, most of these people who are paying attention, the mainstream of gaming and esports are the youth, young young people, not necessarily yet 18 years of age. So they got to ask their parents. And if their parents are being asked, like, it's either they're going with a group of friends and a pr and, what's the word? A parental guidance, what's the word I'm looking for? A chaperone. They have to have a chaperone involved, like, someone's going around, and taking to them to the event, uh, and the more people you add on, the more the higher the cost is. Flight, plane, travel, blah, blah, blah. So, yeah, I don't really understand how esports tournament operators and event organizers in the esports space put together their financial plan in regards to these events and think that people will spend thousands of dollars, but even before they get in the door. Like there's not like on a local level, I'm sure they can get people to show up, right? But they're always everyone who has been an esports tournament operator and an event organizer says that they barely break even unless they're, getting to the point at which they've got investment money, they can combat it, lower the ticket prices with the money that comes in because eventually over time, you'll break even. So like a dream hack, right? And one of the big reasons why they sold out to Savvy Gaming Group is because the Saudi Arabian government has a lot of money to spend in innovation in this space with oil money, all these different things. So like, I mean, the way that the Saudi Arabian government, they're just invested in a lot of technology because they're pioneering, petroleum engineering, all these different things. So like that investment and everything that's involved there is making it so that they can do, market research without having to really put a lot of effort into local grassroots because they got money to spend. Unfortunately, the people in these markets, they don't have, I mean, there's very few that have that type of money to spend. And with as many different stops that DreamHack has now in this year, it's like, how in the world are content creators or fans even supposed to go to all these events? How can they go to everyone? And I mean, it's incredibly important to attend every single one of them. It's the meta right now. It's the thing to do. It's extremely expensive. You have to have a what do they say? They say there's an adjective that they use, but basically a ravenous fandom. I think that's the right word. That's like sending constant donations and constant contributions, purchasing merchandise all the time, having big brand name sponsors to where you're even getting close to $250,000 a year to attend these events. Because I mean, you just can't, you can't do that. And then you basically have a, uh, arguably a competitive audience to every single event. Yeah, I mean, look, esports teams have not been profitable. They've not been profitable because of these issues. Like it costs an ungodly amount to get your players, your staff, everyone out to the event, and then to win a measly $250, like that doesn't even cover the cost of attendance. I mean, just to go, just go to show you. You ever say that? However you say it. Um, Look at all the teams now. Basically, the Players Alliance and Overwatch basically suing the Overwatch League and Blizzard Activision for just basically gross negligence. Like it's putting them in financial straits that they they should have been well um there should have been no fine print in that regard. Like they should have been way more vocal about the risk. There's a, oh well, you knew the risk. Well, be more vocal about the risk because how are the players supposed to know that the Overwatch League is gonna basically be, for lack of a better word, screwed over by the Overwatch developers with Overwatch 2. Same goes to show for like Halo. Although Halo had a resurgence, but dwindled again. And it's just like it's unfortunate. Like even Fortnite for what you have you like and what they do. It's like where is the next World Cup? Like where is the next big opportunity for Fortnite? Because all the money that these players invest in teams and everything that goes into being good and competitive at these games, like, there has to be a payout. There has to be a big payout. And it can't just be content creation, because content creation is not the same thing as competitive gaming, right? You can't, like, esports pros shouldn't have to go to the lengths that they have to basically play Smurfs and play against inferior content creators just to get the content creator to basically foot the bill for real competitive gaming. Like, this should be something that's handled by the developers. Like, the developers should be sanctioning, funding, operating the leagues, but also funding the grassroots, doing both. I, you know, it's aggravating because it what it ends up doing is diminishing the entertainment value of the content, because they can't do, or they are not doing, esports content coverage at a high value level, right? They're not doing enough to innovate in the space. They keep no now they keep rotating the same content creators that they know are problematic. They know that they're one step away from a bad scandal coming out about them or something that they said. So they're not developing enough new content creators to break out. Like, Jake Lucky broke out as an outsider covering the industry and has done a really good job at being both entertaining and informative in that space. Whatever the case may be, he posted about the fact that even he's a little bit lost in what people are supposed to do when it comes to content distribution, right? The content creation, I think he's kind of solved that in the way that he creates content, but distribution, he's just still challenged with, like, are you supposed to YouTube, TikTok, blah blah blah, all these different platforms, and it's just so taxing, mentally and emotionally and physically taxing, to be basically putting it out in the dark, because everything's moving so fast. And that's understandable. Like, I'm not complaining or making a statement about that. Like, I understand what he was saying in the sense that, and this post was on LinkedIn, I think he probably posted it on Twitter too, but I understand where he's coming from, because just at this meetup that I was at for the podcast meetup, they're talking about podcasting being a curriculum. That wasn't even a discussion whenever I was in college or in high school or taking media courses. It wasn't even ever brought up. Podcasting already had been established through Apple Podcasts by the time that I had attended college, but nobody even talked about it. So it's understandable, right? It wasn't a medium. It wasn't a format that was popularized to the level that people were making money and making bread doing it, right? And so now it's like people are making money doing it. So now they've got adjunct professors and teaching assistants and associate professors teaching podcasting courses at universities. University of Texas RTF program is teaching podcasting. Unbelievable. Texas State, podcasting being taught. Now they don't teach live streaming. I mean, how do you teach live streaming? Like, ask Aiden Ross, right? How do you teach YouTube? Go ask Mr. Beast. You just kind of have to shoot in the dark and hope that personality kind of just carries you along the way. That's social media. That is what this newfound celebrity is. This new media celebrity, right? New media. And that'll be that term, new media, will never go away, right? It's a terminology that we've started to adopt, new versus traditional. So today, like blogging, writing books, radio, television, traditional, legacy media. Television is definitely legacy media. Laser discs, legacy media, right? Even DVDs and Blu-rays to a degree, cassette tapes, that was another distribution model. Still audio, still video, blah, blah, blah. But legacy, like it's not something that the mainstream consumer is using, right? The mainstream consumer is trying to lower the costs and increase their consumption. Lower the costs, increase consumption. Everybody wants to be in the know. Not everybody. Okay, some, like I said earlier, not everybody wants to be educated and informed and know what's going on and be in the know, being on the inside secret. Not everyone. Okay, some people are able to kind of do their thing, but that's not the majority. The majority of people want to be in the know, etc. Not everything, but most things, right? So they're watching all the new movies, they're watching all the old movies, they're listening to all the new music, they're listening to all the old music, they're watching, I mean, what else are they doing? They're reading all the old books, the new books. Because of the advent of the internet and accessibility, they're doing everything they can to consume as much information as they possibly can in 15 seconds or less. It's like it's like get the most groceries in 15 items or less. Like buying the biggest bulk products so that you can go through the 15 items or less line, get out the door as fast as possible, get into your car, shoot off to work, and just like the time, so much time. There's only, what is there, max 12 hours of daylight in the day. So during that daylight time, you have to really micromanage your time, right? Unless you have a whole lot of free time that you have because of whatever financial situation you're in. But this whole capitalist system is working off of the dollar bill, y'all. So yeah, I mean, that rant right there was epic, but now I've derailed and forgot entirely the direction that I was going. I just went off and started talking about, oh yeah. Platforms, right? So platform 9 3/4. I don't know why. Harry Potter came up in my mind. Going, yeah, I mean, let's just kind of, take that imagery of 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 a multi-dimensional portal, of platform 9 3/4, and it's like going from the Muggle world to the wizard world, right? And so when you take content, which is you want to go from being an average Joe, put it through platform 9 3/4, social media, and in the other end of the big picture, you want to get celebrity, fame, notoriety, acceptance, everything, right? Be a wizard, Harry. That's what you want to be. You want to go from being a muggle, being a nobody, to being a somebody by going through the gateway, right? That's the thing. But the gateway, people, ordinary people don't see the gateway, right? They don't see what you have to do, the magic that it takes, or, unfortunately in this case, this is like a like a bloodline thing. Yikes. But, you know, but half-bloods can get through. Like that is wild. I I when you start digging into, like, the personification and the underlying tone and and meaning behind these things, it's like, "Whoa, that's gross." But anyway, you wanna come out on the other end, but people on the other end are there's a finite few of people who come on the other end unscathed. But then again, like, there's a there's an admiration to the scars um, that are got from putting in the hard work, right? That it takes to be a somebody. So you're gonna have to learn social media. You're just gonna have to keep doing, and hopefully that produces results. Actions, results, right? More actions, more results, positive and negative. There's no there's no other way around that, right? It is just purely what you do and what comes of what you've done, right? Um, so yeah, I mean, right now they're probably teaching social media, they're teaching podcasting, old format, people who are like myself that are getting a little older, that are teaching assistants, adjunct professors, assistant professors to the main hierarchy of the pow down and this is the way that it is. You know what I mean? The bull crap. Because people it's there are very few doctors or PhDs that are my age that are didn't have the majority of opportunities in the collegiate system or the university system. And so people like myself are not educating the youth through that mechanism. We are educating the youth through random discovery we don't because the independent is not associating with agency because there's no agency that properly represents us in this medium in a way because we are the pioneers of these. We are the pioneers of the new media. Traditional media can be functionality, bop, 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 slaved to the system, boom, in a way that is easily comprehensible, packaged, boxed, and pushed out as a product through the system of distribution that is normalized by traditional media. Then legacy media, a whole nother thing, but it's like the duality of it. The middle traditional media is the main stream of it all, right? Television is not that, but over the top television is sort of becoming that. Netflix, Hulu, YouTube TV, OTT, right? Because it's a new repackaged smart TV model of the television Hollywood agency model. And the infrastructure is already there. So there's a little bit of playing ball that has to be done. But legacy media, which is more like people who missed the innovations that needed to take place along the way with the capital that they had in their radio stations and in their production studios, like they continue to do it the old way, and there's very few people who are still consumers of the old way, right? And that number keeps dwindling because the majority of consumers move to like that 15 seconds of fame on TikTok. Scroll, 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 scroll. Dark dark pattern behavior so that people click like and accidentally click buttons and purchase things on accident. Like I don't know. I was just like looking at my phone the other day, an today, an application because I updated my iOS popped up on my phone and I'm like, "Whoa, why did that happen?" And I'm like, "All right, I don't know if I'm gonna use that application because it's iOS, Freeform is the application." So I'm like, "Why did this go on to my homepage when I'm very clean with my homepage, I don't do 2 homepages. So why did that happen?" Like, that's a fundamental misunderstanding of the way that I utilize my phone. But developers, I mean, they don't think about the user experience, you know? Back-end developers, I guess I should say, because it's not their duty. Their duty is to make sure that it's functional from a source code aspect. And then it's the duty of designers to design how that's implemented in the user experience. So, sometimes things fall through the cracks. So, like, sometimes that's good, sometimes that's bad. You don't know. You don't know until you've pushed the update what's gonna be good and what's gonna be bad. And then you gotta hope that the next shot on goal is, what people's meets people's expectations, I should say. And, hopefully depends on the situation. If it's like, let's talk about soccer, if it's a penalty kick or like, an what's it called? What's it called when it's in game? An in-game kick. That's not it's all in game, but within time kick. So it's like, oh, he hit the post, but it went in, like, like perception. A goal is a goal, right? Everyone knows a goal is a goal. If it hits the post, bounces off 6 times, and then goes in the goal, it's just nerve-wracking and, can be seen as, um, risk risky, and, how often do you then put the, ball in between the feet of that particular player? You don't know. I mean, if they're consistently making, nerve-wracking goals like that, that they're constantly hitting the post and they're not, you know, just drilling it into the net, with no goalie in sight. Because you want as a content creator just be hitting swishes. I mean, and like in basketball, just three-point shots, swish, 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 Steph Curry style, just hitting it, bop, 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 and just killing the game, just on top of the world with your content, not hitting rims and backboards and uh, spinners and cyclones and boppers. You don't want that. No shot. Rims, boom, boom, bouncing off into the side, and then doing a rebound shot. Like, it's like just so nerve wracking. Just like, and especially when content creation is always like 2-minute warning, red uh red zone drill, 4th and 17, 4th and 40, red zone drill, 2 minutes left. Like, it's always Hail Mary, or like it's always like you're in the worst situation. You know, you you're always you're always behind somehow. Even the biggest content creators. It's like, how do you top your last one? Or how do you not, go in the red as far as the content you publish? Because you always have to get your numbers above the last video that you made if you're like a celebrity, right? I mean, like, some celebrities are like, it's, not that big of a deal, but then their career tanks and, they disappear because they're, uh they're, like, seen as, like, nobodies 'cause they can't hit the numbers anymore. It's like bouncing off the walls constantly, and then you never get on goal because you n what is it like? Prince will never make another Purple Rain, like, or Michael Jackson will never make another Thriller, right? Those people are long gone, but I mean, like, I'm just saying, like, people in the prime, at the height of the height, the top, like Drake. Drake is typing top. Every year he's like Aubrey Graham Drake. He's Drake. He's this. He's that. Like he's constantly hitting higher and higher marks. Taylor Swift, higher and higher marks. The top people, and then like the average, Joe, the Joe content creator, Joe Rogan, like stagnant, right? Just like went to Spotify. Joe Budden went to Spotify. Both of them went to Spotify, and they're just like not really doing that many things that are innovative. Like, when is Joe gonna stop his contract with Spotify and go back to multi-distribution? Like, it'd be way better for the consumer. Like, being exclusive to a platform is just, like, not it. It's not it. Functionality reasons why it's not it. Ninja, like, what he's doing right now with live streaming on every single platform is the wave. It's just the wave. It's the way to do for all big content creators, like, because developers should really just be working on how their interface works with every single thing, with smartphones, PCs, smart TVs, augmented reality glasses. Like, that's the thing. Developers should be focused on user experience, but they constantly are focused on feature sets, like an exclusive to platforms. And it's like, is it business interest? Is it that, a particular platform or device is gonna finance a certain aspect of development? I don't know. I don't know if that's true, but it sure does seem like there's just no coordination and direction. There's nobody coming out and talking about it from a public relations standpoint of like what these platforms are doing as um it relates to user experience. I mean, I guess Mark Zuckerberg comes out and says that, he's changed the Facebook name to Meta, and that Meta is now doing virtual reality and augmented reality and everything with Oculus. I guess, like, as far as like bringing the user experience closer to the consumer. No, like, who, like, in the comments of this video, who has a portal system? Who has one? Like, who uses Portal for smart TV? I don't know a single person. Like, I don't even know the Portal TV operating system. I've never even seen it. I've never seen it in a store. I've never seen it anywhere. Like, I kept on hearing that Portal TV was gonna come out, and I've never seen it. Never seen it. It's interesting. Maybe it'll be out one day and it'll be like Meta Portal TV, and it's like, whoa, that's far out, man. That's cool. Dope. Anyway, I think I'm gonna surmise this. This is actually a pretty good episode for the creator economy. Like, a lot of discussion about ways that you can monetize, platforms, tools, strategies. There's just a lot in this live stream podcast distribution. Man, I hope that everyone really enjoyed listening to this, that tuned in, and don't hesitate to reach out. As always, it's Trent Knox. I'm going to sign off here, www.trentknox.com, for all of the things. And I hope that I'm going to try to think of a slogan here off the top of my head that I'm going to say every single time. because I know, like, Knives has his slogan, right? It's, like, almost like I'm, like, thinking of other different slogans, like, "Keep on keeping on in the free world," like that type of thing. And then I've heard people like I did this before, "It's a hard knocks life. Keep going." You know? Like that. "It's a hard knocks life. Keep going." Alright. Signing off.